Previously on Unbalanced Encounters.
Oh my gods. What she was in the crate. She was just in the crate.
Can a baby survive in a crate?
What does the captain want with a baby? He's never offered to sit for my kids.
I feel like I'm in a constant state of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
I feel your anxiety. It's not often that we carry a person.
Like, what if we're doing something really terrible?
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Our ship is fast. There are options.
Our ship is fast, but fate is a good hunter,
You got questions, brother? We got answers, maybe. And you all see crystalline white beaches, lush, verdant palms, and at the center, a spire. You see thunder, rumble, lightning, flash, and the silhouette of something in that hurricane. You all have about probably 20 minutes before I lose control of this thing. We see the three of you board the Lord Bethany, and the blusterer begins to channel his magic into a gust of wind that sends you into the hurricane. The personal cost is the Lord Bethany. The ship is destroyed.
We're all good. Almost all.
We're stranded.
By the order of the Lord Governor's Kawa, the three of you are under arrest. Ahoy, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Unbalanced Encounters, the final part of this rapscallion adventure. I'm your host, Patrick Perini. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Ahoy! Ahoy, mateys!
Yo ho ho.
Avast.
We rejoin our heroes and the baby Saphira on the docks of the bustling port town Split in the northeast of Astilla. The wreck of the Lord Bethany bobbing in the waves. And the wardens of this town, under the control of the Lord Governor's Kawa, have decided to place you under arrest. And the woman that is currently standing in front of you, who is flanked by several guards, again, tall woman, brass armor. She has a rapier with a basket hilt at her hip, short, kind of close-cropped blonde hair. Says, by the orders of the Admiral Typhus. Thank you very much, Kathy P., for that name. You are under arrest. You are not obliged to say anything, but anything you do say will probably be thrown back in your faces when we decide to execute you. So, it is up to you.
Question.
Yep.
Who is holding the baby right now?
What a good question. I think, actually, as you all kind of take stock of what do you have, what's the situation, what are your assets, where's the baby, you see that she kind of looks backward over her shoulder to one of her guards. She rests her hand on her rapier's hilt and says, take the child.
Excuse me a moment. I must ask why we are being put under arrest. As you can see, we have a child in our care. I would not want to give away my child to you.
Okay, all right, I like this. You're straight up trying to lie and say that it's your child and not the child that you've absconded with from Mare Sanctorum.
Abscond is such a harsh word.
It is a very harsh word.
Why don't you go ahead and roll me hoodwink, please?
I will do that. That is a 10. I don't add anything to polish, but I don't take anything away.
10 on a hoodwink is very good. That is a complete success. So they've bought your story for the moment. I think she looks at you and says, "Your child, huh?"
Yes, can't you see the resemblance?
Puts her hand up to stay her guards for a second. Kind of cocks a smirk. "Where are you from?" "The three of you aboard what we believe to be the wreck of the Lord Bethany."
Well, I'm from... That's odd. I can't seem to...
Hein looks really concerned.
Hoagie's gonna turn to Kind for a second. We'll deal with that later. Where we're from is irrelevant. And then I'm gonna look to Kind to be like if that was the right thing to say.
I mean, we were just here resting after our shipwreck and immediately get accosted. Is that the right word?
I think accosted would be appropriate here in terms of describing the situation. For you see, an admiral in her Lord Governess's navy has put out word that 3 men aboard a ship bearing very similar markings to yours have absconded with a small child that is rightfully the property of the Empress. Now, you say that this child belongs to you. An interesting assertion. One that I am willing to entertain, if you may tell me where the child was born and where you are from. And I think at this moment, for Hoagie and Kind, there is an element of... Wait, why? You know that Marv is from somewhere. You probably know the name of the town.
Yeah, we grew up together.
What's happening with Marv?
I think that's what's worrying Kind more than the situation as of right now. He's trying to focus. Well, we've been all over the place. We're kind of a traveling band of folks, a lot of merchant work. And our lovely ma'am here, and he kind of ruffles Saphira's hair a bit. She just, we were just at sea, so to pick a specific place entirely would be, kind of difficult out in the ocean. It's not about where you're from, it's about where you end and whatnot. And
That's so true. That's so true.
Spoken like someone who has spent the vast majority of their life outside of the law. No?
huge assumption. Your bedside manner is terrible when it comes to these situations. I just need you to know that, and that's me being as respectful as possible.
She snaps, and you see that the three guards that are sort of flanking her kind of step forward exactly one measured step. There's one man who has a tower shield, and behind him, left and right, there's one woman and one man that each have pikes that shift them into a more aggressive position forward.
I don't think Hoagie is picking up the weirdness of Marv not remembering where he's from, because Hoagie just saw Adrian and now is not sure if Adrian is like alive or haunting him, and is just kind of in a weird headspace. And he sees that Kind is also like, he seems distracted. I'm going to use my powers to make things strange and eerie, and a dark mist will start to coil up over the docks. Almost like little cephalopod tendrils made of smoke, just kind of like licking the edges of the docks. And the sound of the town around us kind of fades. So there's like a weird, ominous quiet. If what you're saying is true, and we are in fact wanted by the Emperor, are you sure that the three of you are willing to do what it would take Are you sure you're willing to lose what it would take to stop us?
I feel like you've got one of three options here, depending on what you're trying to do. If you are genuinely trying to have a conversation with them and you're willing to hear out their side, that would be parlay. If you are trying to get a moment where you could then move and literally get out, I will give this to you on a breakout. If you are genuinely just trying to let the magic freak them the fuck out to change the narrative ante, that is unleash a mysterious power, I think.
Okay, let's unleash a mysterious power.
All right, go ahead and roll me plus Spitfire.
That's a 3 plus a 4. That is a 7.
On a mixed success, it works, but exacts a personal cost and works too well. What do you think the personal cost here should be?
I think that Hoagie will lose a little bit of his empathy when he has this personal cost. It is more Balm driving him closer to just doing what Balm wants all the time.
I think that what we see is the smoke filling the space in this eerie quiet, this command reverberating, sowing doubt. And then I think we see Balm swirl around one of these pikes and just pull it down. And you see that the man that had been bearing the pike on the shield bearer's left side is slashed, and he crumples to one knee and collapses, and the other two guards turn, panic, and run away screaming. The captain of this guard group takes a step back. She's on her back foot now. So sorry. Sap supply? And she draws her blade and is immediately buffeted back slightly by a crowd of people that is now in full panic at what they just saw happen. The "it works too well" means that all of the people that towed you in are now in full panic, and that panic is beginning to spread. You have created a moment of chaos here on the docks. Marv and Kind see this and instantly know what has happened.
With that, Kind's eyes are looking towards any ships that are getting ready to set sail.
There are probably very many here. Why don't you go ahead and make this part of a size up?
Oh, 7.
All right. Hold 1. You can also hold an additional 1 if you stick your nose somewhere where you shouldn't. And so what hold 1 here means is that you get to ask me one of the following questions. Where's the true danger lurking? Where are the signs of hidden treasure? What strange secrets lie just beneath the surface? What here is useful to me or my crew? And how do you safely blank? You can make that 2 questions if you stick your nose somewhere it doesn't belong.
We're pirates. I'm gonna stick my nose where it doesn't belong. But one of those is gonna be what is helpful to me and my crew.
Okay. All right. What is helpful to you and your crew is, first and foremost, sort of the chaos that has been created here. You see that this guard captain is sort of struggling to push through this crush of bodies that is now moving in and around all of you. But then you look up and you see, oh, we're at a very, very busy pier. 3 docks down, there is a one-master ship, crewed. You see the last of them bringing on barrels of water, so it's probably also laden with appropriate cargo and provisions. It's ready to go. You just got to get on there and convince them to take you with them. I'm going to ask you how you're sticking your nose where you're not, where it doesn't belong. What does that mean?
Through this chaos, are any of the wardens near us?
Yeah, I mean, the primary one is still pretty close to you. She's having a hard time keeping her footing, but she's still within, 5-10 feet.
As we're trying to, when I say, and try to say that we should go in the direction of that ship, I want to blast past her and grab whatever I can from her and attempt a slight pickpocket to get information on why, or just the Empressar's child. Why is the Empressar's child in a crate?
Property.
Okay. Okay. Here's how this is gonna go. You look at Marv and Hoagie. You make eye contact with the ship that you've noticed through the chaos. You are going to then take 2 big steps forward and just collide with her and immediately start to basically do this sort of pickpocket situation. And you actually find a scroll attached to the outside of her rapier sheath. And you grab that, and she's obviously struggling with you. She's wrestling with you. She takes her rapier and runs it through your flank. You take 2 harm. And then you pull away, feint, and take 1 step away from her, effectively disengaging from that fight. You can close with her again if you want, or you could get away. You have a piece of information, but you have not had time to look into it yet.
That was just a distraction to open some space for my friends.
It worked.
Start heading that way. Just wincing a bit, like, all right, let's go. And then charge that way.
Are you okay?
Never better. Yeah, just running down the street.
As you begin to run down the street, you see her stare daggers in your direction. Just furious, blood dripping off the tip of this rapier, and she calms herself and whips the point to Marv and the child.
Okay. I think Marv was a little bit shocked and trying to sort through why he couldn't remember where he was from, but this more present danger sort of snaps him out of that shock, and he holds Saphira a little bit closer to his chest, and I think Marv is just going to try to just like barrel through her using his body and the bulk of him, like get Saphira on the far side and just stiff arm past this woman.
All right. That is a breakout if ever I heard one. Please go ahead and roll me 2d6 plus blood.
Could I
what's up?
use a bond to help Marv, or do I do that after the roll?
You do it before the roll, so you can give him a +1.
I think that in that moment, seeing that, I sort of brought back. I was focusing on like the dead body and the weird smoke, and I see how unnerved Marv is, and there's a moment where the smoke just kind of like pulls back, and I'm just gonna put my arm on Marv's shoulder and give it a little squeeze and sort of be ready to like push behind him to barrel through.
That's going to be a +1 to that roll. Go ahead and burn that bond.
7 + 1, that's an 8.
That is a mixed success on a 7 to 9. We both choose a complication. Your options are you suffer harm or mark trouble, you run into an obstacle you didn't expect, you lose track of something important, or you bring something nasty with you.
I think I'm going to suffer harm or mark trouble.
Okay. I don't think I'm going to have you mark trouble on this one, because I do genuinely think that she wants that child. So you start running through, you try to push past her, and she, boom, clocks you in the face with the basket hilt of her rapier. You take 1 harm, ignoring armor.
Got it.
But manage to twist free and take a few steps forward. The other thing that I'm going to give you is that you run into an obstacle you didn't expect. However, I'm going to hold that until we're a little closer to the ship.
I think seeing that, if Khan's like running for it and then he turns back and he sees Marv get punched in the face and this woman didn't chase after him but stayed with the child, he would definitely turn back and pull out that wonderful, was it a
ruby encrusted fire blade.
and if she's reaching for the child, she's gonna lose that arm.
Woo! Okay, we are getting into a scrap here as Kind lunges for this woman. Go ahead and roll me 2d6 plus blood.
Oh, that's a 12.
That is a full success.
Let's fucking go.
That is a full success. Okay, so here's how this works. You have an option here. You can ignore her harm, right? Or you can take the ante. When you take the ante in a situation, you spend it like a bond to do one of the things that you do with bond. In this instance, I think that's going to be Mark Trouble lose an arm.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna take the damage.
Okay. You run at her with this knife drawn, kind of underhand grip, and she is ready. She twists her hand around her hilt and runs you through as you run to her. And then you take the dagger. You see a searing glimmer along its sharp edge. And you pull it through the flesh of her arm like butter. And it drops to the ground, pulling the rapier out of your abdomen. 2 additional harm, ignoring armor. You are bleeding pretty profusely, but surprisingly, it seems like she missed anything terribly important. And you are holding her arm. The flesh smoldering and cauterizing from the magic in this blade. I'm curious as to what Hoagie is doing.
I think Hoagie is worried, and he's just kind of like looking back and forth, and Balm is getting excited. There's going to be a moment where there's like a little bit of like a crackle of that heat in the incense smoke, and he's going to push past against it, and he's going to grab Marv by like the hilt of his coat and be like, we got to get out of here with that kid before this gets worse, and start just trying to drive Marv and Kind through and try to like push back against using Balm in this moment.
Okay.
If she's engaged with Kind, is that enough space that we could like use that to move past?
I think it is. I think between Kind taking this damage and you burning the bond to give the +1 to the breakout roll, I think you are tagging along here in a way that you're like body blocking for Marv a little bit, right? Like people who are, who might jostle you into the waters of the bay. You are just kind of shoving them off, all the while just trying to hush the voice in your head saying, stay, fight. This is what we're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
We need to push for the ship. We need to get aboard quickly.
She's not taking that baby.
No, she's not.
Kind. You're right.
Yeah. All's good?
Kind, we need to get aboard and stop the bleeding.
Oh, it's just a scratch. When I protect crewmates, I refresh my bonds with them, so...
That fucking counts. That fucking counts.
You took 2 stabs for us.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead and refresh those bonds. The 3 of you are milling through this crowd. You are bobbing and weaving, and to her credit, Saphira is just quiet. Every now and then, Marv kind of giving your shirt a little tug, as if to let you know that she's still there. And
this is the chillest baby.
You just knock like 3 people down who are, kind of desperately trying to get to their ship on the other end of the docks. And I'm curious as to marching order here. Who was the first person to try up the gangplank of the ship that Kind found?
I think it would have been Kind, but
I think Kind would.
You think it would be Kind?
Yeah.
Kind's usually the talker. That's why he...
Kind, you just heavy footfalls, right? Your seafaring boots anchored to the wood of this pier. No one is getting in your way. No one is pushing you around. Slam up to the gangplank. And you see that there is kind of one final person who is making their way, one final sailor that is making their way up this gangplank. Everybody else looks like they're getting ready to shove the fuck off. And you see that they are all in the same naval attire of the fleet that sacked Mare Sanctorum. What do you do?
Also, I forgot to add, I kept her arm.
Into the bag. Okay.
I gotta get my kids their trinkets, dude. I need that rapier.
my god!
I need the rapier. I need the sword.
Okay. I will say you have a rapier. You have a rapier.
It was a
you can have the arm
2-for-1.
too if you want. Yeah.
It's a 2-for-1, yeah.
The rapier's 2 harm.
A lot was going on, Pat. I had a sword at my
Sure.
side. I just
Yes,
took
you
what
did.
I could.
2 harm on that
gosh.
rapier.
He's lightheaded.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of blood loss. He's not paying attention. I'm gonna say that he's gonna continue.
You wave the rest of your party on, take a couple steps up this gangplank, and then you see this person stop, kind of heave a sigh, shake her long red ponytail, draw 2 short swords,
Oh, what?
and in a deeply unexpected
I knew it.
obstacle,
I knew it, Pat. I knew it.
How?
turn around on the gangplank and say, I thought we broke up. Now you're coming and following me to split? What in the hell is going on, sailor?
Coughs up some blood in a laugh. Oh well, you know me. I just can't stop chasing you, love. And then he falls to his side a bit and like shows the wound.
Oh. You know what? I think that's parlay. You want to go ahead and roll that for me?
When you show your belly to a potential enemy, that's a parlay.
That's what we call a parlay, boys.
I will take whatever bonds you guys want to throw my way if you guys are close enough.
I will give you I think I have one. I'll spend it.
All right, that's a +1 to this parlay roll. That's 2d6 plus polish +1.
The 9.
A mixed success. Incredible. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at that. On a mixed success, on a 7 to 9, they want you to do something for them first. Do it, or they could ignore your compel. She looks at the wound in your belly, looks up, sees Hoagie, sees Marv, kind of sneers, sees that Marv has a child, then looks out over the chaos that you all created. And then she sees the arm that you have haphazardly shoved into your bag. And she takes both of her swords, puts them to your throat in that crossed blade kind of way, and says, all right, now, love, play along. And leans back and says, in the name of the Empress Saul, the 3 of you are under arrest. You are to board their Majesty's ship immediately, where you will be placed in the brig and taken to the rightful, Admiral, the rightful.
Yes, that's good.
Admiral.
You're doing great. You're doing great. Yeah.
Now, all of you, get on the ship. Come on, let's go.
We're horrible, and he's just nodding like to y'all, like, good, let's go.
Giving Kind like one of those like one arm supports, like one arm around my neck as I'm baby in the Bjorn. Kind's arm around my neck as I'm trying to help support his weight as we board.
And the three of you are marched onto this ship. And as you're walking, you actually see a handful of faces that really don't look like the Kawa Navy. In particular, the first person that you see is a tall man, big shoulders, bright red hair, big bushy beard, wearing a naval jacket that just doesn't fit, right? It's like 4 inches too short, right? And he is in the process of like sweeping the deck and clearing debris out of the way, while a little halfling with similar red hair in a coat that's way too long for her, like, scrambles to tie some rope. And then you get a better glance. That's a child. Right? That's not a halfling. That's a child.
Full-fledged kid just running around the ship.
And the further you get onto this ship, the more it starts to piece together. These aren't the Navy. These people took this ship from the Navy. And Sabrina makes a huge show of marching you down to the brig. And she pushes all three of you into the room, steps in herself, and slams the gate behind her. And takes a seat as the ship begins to shove off. You three have made it out of danger for the moment. And Sabrina sits down, kind of kicks her heels up on a little stool and says, "So your escape plan didn't really go very well, I take it, huh?"
Kind is just holding his side. He has his eyes closed as he's trying to like control his breathing, as now that like the wound's starting to get a little worse. He's not talking right now, just focusing on his breathing.
I'm gonna start ripping up just like what can I make bandages out of? I'll just take like my cloak, I guess, and start ripping that
you
to pieces.
Start to go ripping the cloak, and Sabrina's like, stop. I mentioned to the O'Rourke child to bring something down. She'll be down momentarily."
Hey, I'm fine. Hoagie, how you doing?
You're not fine. You're going to be fine, but you're not fine.
You're very stabbed. Very much stabbed.
Mr. Scrap, we've been through worse. Hoagie, that was a great distraction. Mate, you did great.
Yeah, it was alright. Bomb. I didn't expect anyone to die, but Kesara, I suppose.
That was brutal.
Our escape was problematic at best. It was not so much an escape as a prolonged attempt at escape.
I mean, all things considered, we could have killed a lot more people. So maybe it's not the worst. And Saf seems like she's okay. Are you all right, little one? Boop boop boop. And I'm gonna poke at her with my gold finger.
She just like giggles, just grabs for the finger, kind of pulls you in and closer.
Why do you think the Emperor's says that they own this baby?
The choice of words was odd.
Kind, remember you have that scroll.
Oh, wait. I think she gave me a hand on the way out. And he tosses the arm out.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
dude.
Listen, sailor, I don't know your name, but I have to say that was the single most attractive thing I've ever seen.
Thank you, love. But unless you're willing to be a wonderful step-parent, I do come with baggage. And then he takes out his baggage and throws out the scroll onto the ground as well.
Is anyone specifically watching for her reaction to any of that?
No.
I think my eyes are on the scroll.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a player.
She looks interested. Like immediately like that was forward, but interested.
She can dish it out, but she can't handle it. Oh no.
Anyway, scroll. Who's opening this scroll? Who's opening this scroll? Who's opening this scroll?
I'm opening the scroll.
Marv, you pull open this scroll and begin to read by order of the Admiral Typhus of her Lord Governess's naval ship, the Natrum. All points be aware that there are 3 men who have abducted a child rightly belonging to the care and custody of their holiness, the Empress Undai. This child is considered to be of magical provenance and of the utmost importance for the Empress's political intentions. She is to be recaptured and remitted to their care at all costs. Her 3 abductors are to be disposed of by any means convenient. They are traveling aboard a ship under the call of the Lord Bethany. A 4th member of their crew was lost early at sea during the Natrum's pursuit. If found, engage with weapons immediately. Arrests may be attempted. However, taking the child is the only priority. Signed, the Admiral.
I told you guys it wasn't just a baby. I told you, you're a magical little baby. Yes. Little bit of magic in you.
But how? How did the Empress determine that this baby was of magical importance, and why is the baby not evidently magical?
Well, I mean, she doesn't really cry that much. That's magic in itself.
Right. And we don't change her as often as would be required of a normal baby. I suppose that's also magic.
Oh,
It's a very low
absolutely.
maintenance child.
That's extremely magical. No, this all tracks. This all makes sense.
I mean, also, I do feel like magic is only known once it decides to make itself known. Right?
Correct.
It's dark, and there's like one cot in the far back of the room. There are a couple of manacles that are like kind of haphazardly nailed into the wall, right? Like they're almost more symbolic than they are functional. And there's one little, kind of candle that has been, again, jammed into the wall that has been burnt down to a nub. It's not lit. It's not providing you any respite of warmth or light. Which one of you has Saphira?
I think she's still in my baby Bjorn.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
In this sort of like dark environs, like looking around to see if there's anything immediately useful, I think I am going to take out one of my books that I had to rescue from our ship and just whisper a story about the light that finds sailors and manifest a little ghost light to sort of illuminate our surroundings.
Amazing. What?
Cool.
You all see light kind of gather above this book, and I don't know that you know what to make of this fact, but it is a dim blue in a way that natural light very rarely is.
using that light, I'm just going to like start undressing Kind's, like getting clothes and armor and any sort of like infection vectors away from Kind's wounds.
You start pulling blood and seawater soaked clothing and armor off of Kind, and Sabrina's standing by the door. When the three of you see the little girl that you had initially mistaked as a halfling kind of bound around the corner to the door of the cell, and you can kind of see she's got this mop of frizzy red hair. She sort of holds up a slug of bandages to Sabrina, and Sabrina gives her a nod, puts her finger to her lips, gives her a little go-away gesture. She rounds the corner and bounds away, and Sabrina steps in, shuts the door behind her, and pulls out a bandage, and I think kind of just almost gently lands a knee on the ground and begins to tear bandages with her teeth and starts to help Marv in patching up Kind.
You'll be all right.
Oh yeah, I'm under your safe care. I know I'm gonna be fine. Hoagie, how's everything going, lad?
Fine.
Yeah. It seems like your little friend had a little too much fun down there. Just making sure you're all right. As he's laid out and just bleeding all over the. He got a little spicy back there. A lot of people running and screaming. Appreciate that you were able to get him going crazy to give us that escape. I think the little one appreciates it as well.
You did well, Hoagie. It was only with your assistance that we were able to make it.
I suppose so.
You all really are willing to deal with some shady shit, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's only shady because it's new to you.
This is very well organized compared to how imagine how poorly this could be going.
Hoagie looks like a little bit just like extra frazzled, and he keeps kind of looking out the porthole window, and sort of just like getting lost in thought. Seems very distracted.
Hoagie, come here.
Yeah?
Come here.
Yeah?
I gotta tell you something. He puts his hand out. If you don't mind. I hate the sight of my own blood. If you could just hold my hand for me.
Oh, yeah, okay. And I'll hold your hand with my little gold finger.
And he'll take your hand in his and he'll clasp it, and you notice that he's sweating profusely, and there's a fear in his eyes. But he doesn't say anything about it.
As the two of you clasp hands, Marv notices this first, and then the two of you notice sort of a beat later that Saphira starts to scramble a little bit out of her baby Bjorn, reaching for those outstretched hands.
You're gonna get all bloody.
Sweetheart, please. It's not sanitary. But I'll bring her closer to Kind's face. Is she reaching for the?
She's reaching specifically for the hand hold. She's reaching for their outstretched hands.
Oh yeah, I'll just kind of move her gently towards them. Go team.
She puts her hands on the two of yours, and you feel a level of intention that is deeply inscrutable from what is effectively an infant. And you see Sabrina, who's been kind of watching this, say, gentlemen, is that a fucking child?
It's a baby.
Yes, specifically, it's a baby.
Yeah, you never seen a baby?
I've certainly seen babies. Why do you have one on this ship, on any ship? Why do you have a baby?
Ah, okay. Do you remember the box that you tried to take from us in the port?
Quite well. I imagined that was the thing of value you were supposed to pick up.
Well, it was in fact a thing of inscrutable value. A baby.
In a crate?
Oh, please, not this again.
Who puts a baby in a
I
crate?
had the same thought.
Everyone knows that a crate is perhaps the safest way to enclose a child.
Kind is thinking about the 3 crates he had to lug around all the time when he first had his pups. He's like, y'all are
Kind just
tripping.
has hand-me-down crates.
Yeah,
Hand-me-down crates, they're really nicely lined.
yeah. Nice decorated crates. His wife did an amazing job with them. Rest her soul.
All right. Well, first things first, color me impressed that you've been able to keep a child alive at sea for as long as you have. Weren't you shipwrecked?
Yeah, well, that just so recently happened. We were actually...
Still, it's not easy keeping a child alive under normal conditions.
Don't I know it?
You never really did strike me as the family man, but that's probably the 3rd reference to children you've made in the course of getting on this ship.
Well, I have 3 kids, so yeah. And also, rude of you to assume that I'm not.
Fair enough. Hidden depths, I suppose. Let's maybe start at the beginning. What the fuck? Why? And to where?
Well, I'm lightheaded and Marv's the storyteller, so I'm going to take a nap. And he just
That's adorable. That's so cool. We're gonna kind of like look at Sabrina and be like, well, there were some clauses missing, but I imagine you're asking about the child. We don't exactly know the what or the... For all intents and purposes, this appears to be a relatively normal child. Piercing blue eyes. Unsure what relation the child has to the Empressar. Or to...
To the Empress.
Marv, when you say Empressar, you hear Balm's voice stretch out to you, and it says, "Be careful how much you decide to share. I wouldn't trust her. She might do something bad, and then we'll need to do something worse."
I think, yeah, Marv kind of like stumbles over his words as he hears Bob say that and realizes like, perhaps I should not give away the goat. The child may or may not be relevant to anything that's going on. It's possible that we received the wrong package. We did not ask a lot of questions when we were picking up our freight of interest.
I'm going to ask you to roll me hoodwink for this one.
Aha! I will definitely do that and be good at it. I believe in me.
Even if no one else does, that's going to be plus polish. 2d6
That's
plus
plus
polish,
polish.
please.
Woo! Wee! That is that's a 12.
Let's go!
Damn!
I thought I had a
my
minus,
dog.
but
Let's
no.
fucking go!
Damn, well done, well done. All right, on a 12, that is a complete success. They buy your story for now. Sabrina finishes kind of tightening a bandage around Kind's midsection. That should keep you alive for a little bit. You all didn't ask whether or not the baby was the appropriate thing for you to be absconding with. Am I...
We didn't open the package until we were far gone.
Honestly, I'd be more aghast at that if I hadn't seen you not open the crate for the entire time that you were on the dock, so fair enough.
We went on a zip line with this baby. I would not have done that with a child if I knew that there was a child.
Marv kind of looks at you, makes eye contact, gives you a nod, and then leans in and just sort of kind of pinches the baby's outstretched finger, plays with her for a little bit. And you see that she's almost assessing. There's a practice in this gesture that suggests that she may have done this once or twice before. And she says, "She seems no worse for wear for the zipline experience, but where are you planning on taking her? You all just got aboard our ship. I mean, listen, I understand why you got aboard our ship. You got aboard our ship because you had nowhere else the fuck to go. But we're headed west. We have a crew full of refugees, currently in disguise, that we're trying to get as far away from Imperial Holdings as is possible."
I understand that you have an intended course. However, would it be possible for you to make a slight detour?
It may not surprise you to know that I am not, in fact, in charge of this ship. I can go speak with the captain, have a word, see if we can divert our course at least marginally, but it would depend a great deal on where.
What's the captain's name?
She sits back and says, "An old hen by the name of Woodfoot. That is named by James. Thank you, Patron James.
Captain Woodfoot?
He's with the ship. This is his ship. This is the Kawa Navy Renegade."
Maybe I should talk to him.
You three are currently stowaways. You understand that?
I'm pretty good with talking to people.
Is that true?
You hear Balm whisper, "I am."
Right.
All right, well, I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't the slightest idea what else we should possibly do, and I have absolutely no interest in ensuring that the three of you are with us for our entire voyage. I don't like the odds of this child making the long trek we have to the west. All right. You want a conversation? I'll bring you to him. You. She looks over at Marv. Will you make sure that he's all right?
Yes, I will. Thank you. And if you could, any fresh water that you have, I'll try to make a porridge for the child.
Oh, of course. We're well provisioned, fortunately enough. I suspect that we'll be able to spare at least a meal. All right. Let's go see if we can get this child off this fucking ship. And she stands, and again, you all are struck by just how tall this woman is, and you see little bits of filigreed tattoo poking out of the edges of this Kawa Navy uniform that she's wearing. And she walks over to the brick door, opens it. Come along.
You see Hoagie sort of put his hands in his sleeves, head down, and just follow.
And we cut. You are in a very sparse and utilitarian room on this ship. You see maps on the wall, marked out in lines of ingress and egress, a battle plan of some kind. There are books, ledgers, charts, and astrolabe navigational tools. Nothing of personal decor whatsoever, with the exception of a very, very ornately carved scrimshaw pipe that is sitting, smoking gently on a desk that genuinely looks like it was like made of it kind of has the vibe of like a flat pack IKEA desk, right? It's like a piece of wood on 4 pieces of wood, right? This is not someone's like imposing you're in my office like power move desk. This is a place where I do business and then I fuck off when I can, right? And standing over that desk is a man who has a long kind of gray beard and mustache that comes down to this like weird trapezoidal end, so that it kind of comes to two corners. He is balding with a very bad comb over. He is wearing the captain's uniform of the Kawavar Navy, and true to his name, he is missing his left leg and has a wooden peg that seems to be scrimshot in almost exactly the same style as his pipe. Like he got the same person to do both at one point. And he's standing over this desk, staring daggers into Hoagie.
All right, tell it to me again. Why do you have a child?
We have a child, Captain. We have a child because of the same reason you have refugees.
Damn, that's a good answer. That's a better answer than I was expecting.
That's incredible.
I was gonna say, gotta be persuasive when you're dealing with a demon with you all the time.
Let's go, Cinder.
Well, I'm ready for a bunch of evil magic if this goes badly, so don't say let's go yet, because I might burn the ship down.
Okay, all right.
He rakes his fingers through this poor comb over and just starts like stomping up and down the length of this small office.
Do you understand the jeopardy that you put us all in? Do you understand how going off half-cocked and taking a single refugee might put at risk the lives of dozens others?
Do you believe in magic?
He stops, puts his hands defiantly on his hips.
Do I believe in magic? Do I believe in magic? Of course I believe in magic. Everybody believes in What the hell are you talking about, son?
If you help us with this, I will give you a magical gift.
This is a roll. Go ahead and give me. This is going to be parlay. You're very clearly talking to an interesting party. You've told them what. Well, yeah, presumably you've told him what you want, and you're giving incentive. So go ahead and roll plus polish, and I'm going to give you a +1 on this one for that incredible volley of refugees.
Well, that's a 7 plus 1 is an 8.
On a 7 and 9, they do what you want. They want you to do something for them first. Do it, or they can ignore the compel. He puts a hand to his temple, kind of rubs it, and says,
I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna choose to believe that you're not trying to bribe me personally and instead contribute to the cause. What exactly are we talking about?
I am not alone here. I have a traveler, and they can do many things. So what to contribute to the cause could be a great many things. Do you need financing? Do you need better weaponry? Is there somebody on the ship that you need something from?
he's genuinely tempted. I think he's turning this over. And I think he stomps back to his spindly little chair, heaves himself down into it, and
where exactly do you need us to leave you?
Shipwrangle Cove. Or as close to it as we can get.
I'm assuming that you're going to be able to point that out on a map.
and he points up to a map. And Shipwrangle Cove is the kind of place that like people have probably heard of, but it's not a very commonly sanctioned place to bake into the cartography.
I pointed out on the map.
isn't far out of the way.
So what do you need? A weapon? Gold? Someone to do exactly what you want?
He looks askance, ponders this for a moment, and says,
The only hope that we had of getting away clean was that Typhus wouldn't leave the siege before the end of the first week. Ugh, he's been hot on your trail since the first day. Then he'll hunt us down with every bit of vim and vinegar that he's hunting you. Help us get away, or help us fight him. If you have the magic that you claim that you have, all I ask is that you help undo the damage that your presence has done.
That's a bit vaguer of a request than I was expecting, but I can certainly ask my traveler to help you fight and perhaps escape.
I mean, if you think you could just kill him, right? Like that'd be fucking great. That'd be the best outcome. If you think you just, I don't know how your traveler situation is working for you, but if you could just if I could speak his name into the void and he just dies on his deck, that'd be perfect. I'm assuming it's not quite that powerful.
I don't actually know how powerful it is. But no, I don't know how to do anything like that.
All right.
and he stands up, turns around, pulls open a filing cabinet, pulls out 3 sort of parchment folded envelopes, and throws them onto the desk, and out fall 3 Kawa Navy uniforms, each roughly your size. And I actually do want to shift here for a moment. I want to do a little bit more downtime. I want to pull a downtime move for everybody if you guys want. The ship is now moving toward Shipwrangle Cove. As it happens, it is largely on the, kind of in the path of their voyage. They are willing to drop the 4 of you somewhere nearby. However, they have said that they need some help either losing or defeating Typhus. And so there's some decisions to be made there. So that is the state of things. So Cinder, your downtime move, I think, is going to be trying to negotiate with Balm about behaving effectively in, sort of in this bargain that you've made with the captain, with Captain Woodfoot. So I think that this is probably going to be a bargain roll for you. So go ahead and roll plus polish.
The roll was a 5. It's total failure.
Okay. That's a miss. That's a complete miss. What does this look like? Where are you having this conversation with Balm?
I think this is happening late at night, on like the back of the ship, when it's like almost like when the only people that are awake on the ship are maybe like somebody who's like manning the crow's nest, and somebody who occasionally comes to make sure the angle of the rudder is correct, but like no one's even manning it right now. It's just like they have the thing where they have the wooden lock in, and it's just like set on trajectory, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a gentle breeze kind of pulling the ship along, headed in the right direction, headed west, hugging the coast. It's a quiet and clear night. You are alone.
You know, I could have just taken this ship. We could make the captain take us anywhere. We don't really need to do anything, and it might be kind of funny. Look how prim and put together everything was there. Imagine if we just made it a little bit more grim and messy.
Balm, you pushed Aiden off the ship. You're not going to take anyone else from this ship. You and I have been together for some time, and I am saying here and now that I need you to tone it back. I can do things without you.
Are you sure about that? Well, if that's how you feel about it, maybe I'll just go away for a little while.
You know that I still... Balm, you know that I need you. I didn't mean like that. No, you didn't mean like that. But here's the deal, kid. I am older than you. I am older than the waves that this ship rocks upon. And if I want to have a little fun, I'm going to have it. Or I will leave you adrift, powerless and alone, and you won't be able to help your friends or the little baby.
And I think we start to pan back. I think we see this conversation tense and hushed, kind of pulse back and forth into the small hours of the morning. And we don't see where it ends. And with that, I want to cut to our next downtime. Who's got something?
One. I think in kind would going to try to carouse someone of the crew.
All right.
And in the only person that he has a type of any connection whatsoever is Sabrina. So
what a great use of carouse. I'm envisioning that it's just like her making sure you're not going to die, and you like trying to be entertaining from your wounded bed.
If there's one thing Kind's good at, it's shying away from his own problems.
It's almost like that's a major theme of the show. Do me a favor and go ahead and roll. Spend the one treasure and go ahead and roll me plus polish.
Kind of whispers to himself an apology. Like, sorry, Pops. Dad's gonna need to use this for a way to get back home. He's gonna take out the children's book of ABCs.
Oh my god. Okay.
And Marv, you'd see a little sly smile on Kind's face that you've definitely seen before when he's like, in your younger days when he was a bit of a little playboy action, basically.
I think as soon as Marv clocked that, he's like, come, Saphira, we're going to go over there. Let's go look at the waves. And like, give you a little nod.
Out you go.
And then he pretends to be as if he's been asleep this entire time. He sees Sabrina and he's just go, I love, appreciate all the assistance in making sure that me and my mates able to get on this here ship. I appreciate it, and he takes out the book. My girls really appreciate their dad being back home. Oh, and he just lets out a over dramatic, just wincing.
She rolls her eyes a little bit. What was that polish roll?
Oh, that's right. I have to roll. The 9.
A 9 is a mixed success. Mark 3 luck. And I think Sabrina rolls her eyes real hard at that. You're not fooling anyone, I've seen the scars. You've had worse. I've seen the tattoos. I know you've needed to have worse.
Guilty. Just making sure me and my mates, well, mostly my mates are alright,
I'm not doing it for the three of you. You know that, right?
Oh, elaborate.
I'm doing it for the girl. And I'm doing it for your girls.
Oh, well. I guess, they appreciate the assistance for the little one. She doesn't really have, well, I guess Marv at this point would be the closest thing to a parental figure.
Sabrina visibly shudders when you say that.
Well, he's good with books. She'll have a wonderful education, if anything.
Kind, please tell me, do you think, in your estimation as a father, that being good with books is tantamount to being good with children?
And he thinks back to, like, why Marv doesn't babysit anymore. He has a great heart, and he tries really, really hard. Just cooking's not his specialty. The pups, have a very strong palate, and
Not surprised.
they are very loud when it comes to bad tasting food.
Haunt all children. Oh, that little one might not be. She's the tamest little girl.
Not
I've
a
ever-
peep.
No,
Not a
one.
peep.
It's honestly a little disconcerting.
She's just okay with everything happening all around. I chopped off a woman's arm today. Nothing. Oh, and he pulls that out of his bag and takes the sword off of it. You have a cork.
A what?
Like a cork.
From a wine bottle?
Yeah.
She reaches down to the wine bottle that she's been drinking this whole time, pulls the cork out, and hands it to you.
He takes the wine bottle and the cork, takes a swig, hands it back to her. And he takes the cork and he puts it on top of the rapier. Safety first. It's just for one of my little ones really going to enjoy this. And then he's like trying to pry the hand off the blade because of the, what's it called when,
Rigor mortis.
the rigor mortis kicked in on the arm. So he's like,
That's disquieting, gracious.
it's just an arm. And he just tosses it to the side. So why are you so interested in, making sure that these lovely young ladies have positive role models in their futures? And the facade of being weak just disappears.
It's an awfully personal question, but I suppose I could kill you if I don't like the way you respond to the answer.
That's the world we live in.
My parents were never around much. My fathers were often very busy with their other children, and my mother was always off on some excursion or adventure. I know what it's like to grow up without a parent, and I have little interest in inflicting that on anyone else if I can help it.
Yeah, family is important. I'm sorry you had to experience life in such a difficult situation.
Well, judging by those tattoos, you're not terribly unfamiliar with the idiosyncrasies of Krakow life.
No, but I've learned that if I embrace the pain that comes with the journey, I become stronger for the ones who need me for.
She looks away, lets that settle in. I suppose so.
Well, hey, as someone who was, no pun intended, kind enough to make sure that my family was safe and secure when it need be, you are always welcome to assist again if you feel you would like to.
She screws up her face, takes another long pull from the bottle of wine, and says, "Listen, friends, you fight relatively well, and you cut a relatively attractive figure, but I don't know that I'm interested in giving up a life at sea."
I never said you need to give up your life, love. Just saying if you want to, have a little vacation. Treat yourself every once in a while.
She smirks and says, "Tell me about the cove. Tell me about Shipwrangle." And I think that's where we end the scene.
With a bottle of wine. Oh, you behave, baby. No, it's-
Oh, Oh my god.
We're pirates, dude.
Behave.
You give me a
my
big
lord.
old muscle, mommy. Come on, man.
Listen,
Had to
it had to
happen.
happen at some point. It needed to happen in some campaign. Marv, what are you getting up to in this moment of downtime?
Marv sort of like went up above decks for a moment to get some fresh air. And I think he's just sort of looking out on the horizon. And is just sort of rocking Saphira back and forth, trying to like counteract the waves as they bounce the ship. Well, I didn't expect Kine to be getting so familiar with Sabrina, but I'm happy for him. It's been a long time since I've seen him so enamored. Oh, you don't need to hear about this.
Saphira just nods sagely.
You look so erudite for a child. I've never seen an infant that... You really seem to understand what I'm saying.
She grabs one of your fingers and just starts, like, gnawing on it.
You're the wisest of us all, Saphira.
That's probably true.
I think Marv sort of, like, recalls that he picked up an interesting book.
You have a book that effectively documents the experiences of the people of Mare Sanctorum. It's an anthology of these oral traditions and folk stories and just lives of people of Mare Sanctorum. And then I believe you also picked up a couple of schematics that you were not able to immediately identify.
Okay, yeah, I think Marv is going to look for a quiet room or like corner of the deck, somewhere isolated if he can, and somewhere with a door preferably, because I think he's gonna do magic about it.
Okay, I think that is a surprisingly difficult thing for you to do, but I do think that you find a bunk that is currently unoccupied. It looks like it's largely, sort of occupied by people who are otherwise busy at the moment, and I think you shut yourself in and take it away.
So I think the first thing Marv does is he's going to grab Saphira and take the Bjorn and sort of convert it into a little, like a sling hammock thing situation to hang from the rafters. Like, we're going to put you up here for a moment. I'll need my hands free. Be good. And then he's going to just start laying out all of his ill-gotten knowledge, just spreading out the schematics to take a closer look at those. And then opening the book as well to sort of like absorb all of it as quickly as he can.
I'm curious as to what you're hoping to achieve, if anything specific. Is this fact-finding, or are you trying to use this somehow?
I think that unless there is something that is immediately revealed to me in the schematics, I think what Marv is more interested in is that book of folktales. Okay. And I think Marv is going to try and like connect with them and connect to the lingering bonds of those stories.
Yeah.
And I think he's also curious to see how Saphira reacts to that, knowing that she has some connection to magic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marv has realized now that he has forgotten where he came from, and I think that he is trying to connect, if not to where he came. I think he's trying to use this book of anthology of the people of Mare Sanctorum to try and connect to the bond and see like what happened to this, like why is there this hole within him? What is missing?
Go ahead and roll me plus Spitfire.
That's a gentleman's 8. But I think I have a lot of luck. I can use luck to treat it as a 10, right?
Yeah, go ahead and burn that luck. And you make it a 10. On a 10 plus, choose one drawback. The ritual's effect is not quite as planned. You must sacrifice something important, or you are cursed or changed in the process. Your choice.
Ooh, damn. I think that Marv will be cursed or changed in the process.
You clear your mind. Lay out these schematics in a way that sort of supports and frames the interconnectivity of these stories. And you start to thumb through them. And as you visualize the lives of these people, often officials, high-standing merchants, sailors, or magicians of Mare Sanctorum, but very frequently winemakers, people who were responsible for infrastructure, farmers, custodians. You start to see that there are little static electricity bonds between the pages and the lives of these people. And I think that as part of your obsession with books and story and narrative, you have become a bit of a deft hand at binding as well. And I think that you pull out a knife and you start to very carefully remove some of the pages that seem to be more heavily interconnected, and you lay them out in this web. The bonds begin to tendril out and form a polygonal mesh that you can sort of see and understand. And you simply ponder that fact. You sit with it and observe it. You stand and rove around the room, looking at it from different angles, considering the different times that these people may have existed, the strength of one bond ebbing and flowing as their lives progressed. And you start to see something that is almost always true about the written word or the spoken word, that the narratives representing the lives do not form the complete mesh of bond that life does. That two people that should, by all accounts, have been connected directly make no reference to one another in their narrative and are connected only by tertiary individuals, tertiary stories, and you have to follow a path to bridge them. And you see that the bond is pulsing, but not bridging, not connecting. And after a while, I think you look up and you see that Saphira is like hanging from her hammock. She is attempting to get out. She is about a second away from falling. What do you do?
I'm going to jump into action to catch the child.
You just do this, right? Like you are ready. You just leap. You grab her, and she's emphatically squirming to be let down.
Are you? If you need a change, I can bring you over to.
Just arms akimbo, trying to get onto the ground.
I'm going to gently place her on the ground and circumnavigate around her so that I'm looking at the bonds and her to see how she approaches them and where she's drawn.
She beelines right for one of these missing connections. And in the same way that she reached out for Hoagie and Kynes held hands, she reaches out for either end of these broken bonds. And you watch her struggle as she tugs at them, not because she's doing something fundamentally extraordinary, but because she's an infant. It's very difficult for her to move around. She's kind of belly crawling in a way that's awkward and not graceful. But you see the bonds are pulling a little.
I think, Marv, I sort of approach behind her kind of carefully, almost as if I'm afraid to disrupt the bonds that she seems able to interact with so easily. And I'm going to gently put my hands over hers to try and help connect these bonds.
You bring them together. You feel her hands pulse with the heartbeat of the world as she reconnects them.
If looking at the physical documents around me, is there any change, or do I see the change in the bonds reflected in any?
Yeah, you see that they are now interconnected. And while the text of the narrative hasn't meaningfully changed, the words on the page haven't meaningfully changed, you understand in a very clear way, in a very cleanly inferential way, what these two people would have meant to each other.
Oh my. I think with that context, Marv is much like my own. His mind is spinning with the possibilities of this. And I think he's going to start looking at the other broken bonds throughout the room and understanding that the ability to draw inference is damaged by the loss of the bond. Are there more broken or severed parts that we would be able to reconnect?
I think that you start scrutinizing these for that, and you start looking, and maybe there's one more that you manage to sort of pull together. And I want you to take a trouble. You are now obsessed with the potential of this. And I think the camera pulls back as we watch you lose all sense of space and time and priority into the potential of this energy, this power, this ability that Saphira possesses. And we cut to the crow's nest. And a gangly teenage boy in a Kawa uniform, way too big, says, "Ship off the port bow! Kawa, ship off the port bow! Captain! All hands!" It is 4 a.m. You are being tailed by the Natrum. Admiral Typhus is maybe a half hour away from broadsiding you. You all have a new ship. I am going to let you all collectively decide how the ship is going to behave up to a point. And so if we kick over into hand-to-hand combat, close quarters combat at any point, I'm going to pull some of those decisions back to the captain and run it a little bit more narratively. But for the moment, you have a lead, which means you have an opportunity. Hoagie has agreed to either get you all permanently away from the Natrum or fight. You're ambulatory again.
Okay.
Go ahead and mark down your harm as appropriate. Hoagie, Marv are probably in pretty different parts of the ship, but it wouldn't take too long for you all to come together. What are you all doing, and how are you approaching this?
I think Kind would look to Hoagie's lead on whether we're trying to outrun or fisticuffs.
I think we're fighting? Is that the vibe I'm getting?
I'm down to fight.
Yeah. Hoagie, are you feeling kind of ambivalent about it?
Oh, yes, we should fight.
That was a...
You alright there, Hoagie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You sounded a bit...
I'm good.
All right.
You and Baum getting along very well, Hoagie?
Yeah, we had a talk the other night. It went pretty well.
That's good. Good, clear communication is... Yeah.
Boundaries were set. Outstanding.
Cinder, do I need you to roll a hoodwink?
Probably. That's a 6.
Hoagie's lying to us.
If what I think is happening, I'll let you use Spitfire instead of Polish.
Oh, well then that makes it an 8.
Okay, that makes success. Marv and Kind. On a 7 to 9, the deception is either more fleeting than Hoagie would like, or it works too well. Technically my choice, but since it's the two of you, I'm going to make it yours.
I suppose we'll have to come back to this after the fight. I'm curious to know how that conversation went in more detail, but...
Yes, very interesting of Baum to be so respectful of your boundaries.
Okay. I think the both of you are on alert. I don't think that you know necessarily what's happening, but that doesn't sound like Baum. So something's up. You might be fighting a fight that you're maybe not 100% sure which fight you're fighting here. But, yeah, all right. So you guys have decided to fight, and I think this is a decision that would have been circulated amongst the crew early. And so I think that as soon as the Natrum is spotted, all of the children and some of the weaker, kind of refugees, some of the less able-bodied refugees are shepherded into more secure cabins below decks. And everyone else takes up arms and readies positions. You're bopping up and down the main deck, making sure that all the cannons are loaded. This ship is, I believe, equipped with 2 cannon. The rest of you are sort of finding stations, maintaining stations, and the captain is barking orders, getting everyone on alert, getting everyone ready. You all are not terribly far from Shipwrangle Cove. Probably would have arrived there today at some point. You are currently navigating a series of shoals that you all actually know relatively well. Shipwrangle Cove kind of is where it is because there are a series of shoals that make it sort of difficult to navigate into that specific spot, and most people just take the easy route and go the long way around. You can do that. You can also go into the shoals and navigate through the shoals, because this is something all 3 of you would know how to do. You can communicate that to the ship's pilot and the captain.
Can we...
We should take it on.
Yeah, take head on, but can we do it within this area, this space that you're talking about?
The shoals?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys can pilot through the shoals, absolutely.
But take it head on. So, we get to the shoals and then we, bust a Yui.
This to me sounds like an outmaneuver. You have a -1 on speed. I'm going to give you a +1 for familiarity with this space. So you're going to be rolling flat. So I need somebody to roll me 2d6, please.
That is a gentleman's 8.
All right, that's a mixed success on a 7 and 9. The fates describe a complication with your plan. That's fun. That's fun for me. I think we see you bound up to the helm and start giving directions, pointing out shimmers in the water that represent shallows as you navigate through these shoals, and you bring the ship around one and into another. You hoist some sail to slow your traversal through this treacherous space, allowing the Natrum to close, and you, at the last second, trying to remember which direction you have to go to circumnavigate a long, shallow sandbar that acts as effectively a horizontal barrier in this path. And you make the wrong call. And you find your ship grinding against this sand.
Who put that there? That wasn't there last week.
The complication is that you're going to have a -1 to any roll to move any more in this process. But you see fog billowing off of the Natrum as it closes in on you. And your dropped speed, allowing it to fully close that gap, and it follows your every move, deftly weaving through these shoals until right at the very end it scrapes up against one, and the both of you are stopped momentarily. Their starboard to your port, not 10 feet away.
We gonna light them up, right?
We are fireproof and they're not.
We got 2 cannons.
As you say that, Hoagie just sort of squeezes his palms up against the railing of the ship, almost like a dog that is wanting to leap at a thing. And where his hands are squeezing the railing of the ship, you guys just see a little bit of scorch marks and smoke starting to rise up under his hands.
Exactly at the same point of the ship, across this gap, you see the Admiral draw his hooked sword. Do any of you have any idea how far I've had to chase you?
Can't say I care.
Give us the child, if you would be so kind.
Fellas, are we going to give up a child to a man named Admiral Typhus? Admiral Typhus, do you understand how bad this looks? And how strange it is for you to be so invested in a single girl?
The three of you are pirates, is that correct? Yes.
We're refugees.
Yet another illegal thing happening on the ship. You're pirates. You know what it is to take orders. I have my orders. They are to return that child into the care of the Empressor.
I think I've got an answer for your Empressor, mate. And he's been lighting the cannons as this monologue's been happening.
Okay. This just happens, right? You all deal, what is that? I think 2 rack to this ship. As it, you see part of their hull just explodes. Their third mast just obliterates, is totally fucking gone. I was hoping that you would all make this easy on me. All right, we'll do it the hard way. Steps back. All hands on deck! Prepare to board! And you see gangplanks hit the railing of your ship, and bodies start to cross from the fog.
I think Marv is going to make his way up the crow's nest, actually. I don't think that he's going to get into the melee.
The first thing you see is that a bunch of the Navy are just making their way over, right? Like, there are wardens by the score, and they pour onto your deck and immediately start engaging anyone. They're making their way to the three of you to try to figure out where Saphira is. That is what these wardens are doing. Mechanically, what is happening here is that you have a size 2 warden group on deck currently.
Okay.
You see more mobilization happening off the deck of the ship, but they haven't moved yet.
Marv, sort of like, as he's like making his way over to... You know what? No, he doesn't really need to. If he can see them boarding, he doesn't need to get any higher. He's going to like look at these oncoming boarders, and he's going to pull from his satchel a sort of like a scratch notebook with like little fold-outs and fold-ins and inclusions from other books and like pastes and little written notes in the margins. And the cover that has multiple titles scratched out has one title that remains, and it is To Sever a Bond.
That's fucking
Cool.
sick.
Cool.
Yeah, so the way that this works is I have to roll 2d6, and this is part of the creating the magical tome. I guess we'll see what that does right now. If I roll bad, it will be bad.
Can I use a bond for this?
Yeah, I don't see why not, because you can use a bond basically to just help.
Are you ready? You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
What do you do?
And we flashback.
Oh, fuck off!
Delightful.
Take it away.
Probably early in the morning, Marv, you see Kind walking from up onto the deck, kind of stretching. He sees you with Saphira, just holding her. Like, it's a good look on you.
Oh, yes. I learned it from you. The Bjorn is one of the most effective ways to hold a child I've ever seen.
It's very efficient. A lot easier when there's just one of them now. One on my back, one on my chest, and then one on my arms. It's a little complicated. Moving on. Um,
I was just writing.
oh, you're always right. Yeah. One of the smartest people I know.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think, this little one's in real good hands. And whatever comes from, us deciding to, take this job, I know that you've got us all in a safe spot. So, whatever you plan on doing in this upcoming kerfuffle, you know I got your back, right?
I do. But the reminder is nice. And I think Marv's gonna, like, give you, like, kind of put Saphira over to the side so he can give you a hug and just say, the reminder is very nice. Thank you, kind.
Of course, brother. And he hugs back, and then we come back.
Okay.
So you add a +2 from the bond.
Oh, +2.
Yeah, it's plus
Incredible.
2 for kind. Yeah.
That's a 7. +2, 9.
But when you finish your book, roll plus Spitfire. On a hit, pick one condition from the list, and the fate fills in the blanks. This condition must happen before the book's magic can be used. On a 7 to 9, pick an additional condition, or the book is dangerous, your choice. On a miss, tell the fates why the book isn't what you intended it to be.
The book is dangerous, because that was a 9. And then for the condition, reading it causes you to sever your own bonds.
Oh,
That's fucking sick.
that's intense.
That's fucking sick. You crack open this draft to sever a bond, channel that understanding and that energy. I'm going to ask you what you sever to get here, but I'm more curious as to what you're trying to sever.
I want to sever the bond between the Admiral and his crew.
That's big. That's big.
It's big.
We're effectively asking to neutralize an entire group, size 2 group here. You don't actually roll for this. This is just something that this does. I will say that I am going to ask you to sever a bond that you consider to be of similar magnitude.
I think as I do this, as I reach out to the bond between the Admiral and the crew, and I think back to that moment with Kind, I'm sort of like stuck in this moment where I'm pulling at the string that I know I need to sever, and I don't know if I am strong enough to pluck it. I look over to Kind, and I think about the pups. I think about all the time we spent together, and then I pluck that bond and feel something shatter inside me.
You see the crew push on, unfazed. They have a mission. They knew what it was. This comes from on high. They don't question who gave the order. They just do it. But you see Typhus confused, frustrated, a sense of authority gone. He calls out an order and is ignored. He calls out another and is ignored. And so instead, he takes one step back and then 2 big running steps forward, jumps across decks, and boom, lands in front of Hoagie. What the hell have you all done? Hoagie, you're right there. What do you do?
Hello there, Admiral Typhus. Go for a swim. And I'm going to use my dark power to compel someone to do what I say.
Amazing!
So I roll plus Spitfire. I spend a luck.
I want to assist. With Heart of Gold.
Add the 2.
And can I say I do this by charging toward, when I see him in front of Hoagie, charging towards and barreling this dude and assisting and slamming him into the ocean. Going with him.
Okay, add the 2. Burn the bond and add the 2.
So yeah, that'll put it up to an 11. That'll make it work.
Okay. That fucking gets it there. What happens on a complete success here?
On a complete success, as those words come out of my mouth, smoke sort of trickles out of edges of like my mouth as I talk, almost as if there's like soup in my mouth and too much of it. And for anyone with a keen eye, the little sensor that I've been using all this time, it's just not present. I'm not either. It's not out or whatever, but it's just me talking. I imagine as the smoke sort of pools out of me, it sort of enshrouds up into the Admiral's like beard and face, and kind of just creates like a paleness sort of stretching across his eyes as they go wide, as I think his body acts against his mind, and he himself, his brain, his thoughts are all still present, but you can just sort of see the fear in his eyes as the realization comes over him that he is going to be jumping into the water even though he does not want to be. And as that realization comes into his mind and he sort of starts to turn and is maybe like fighting himself not to jump into this sea, that is when our dear kind comes in and helps push him over.
Technically, I think on a compel, I get a stand your ground roll. I am waiving that because he's getting body slammed, right? So there is an element of he might have been able to theoretically summon the will to push through. No. And the 2 of you hit this shallow water and are currently being tossed by the tide. Kind, what do you do?
In this tossing of the tides, Kind's kind of like scrapping with this dude underwater, feeling so close to home, so close to family. He takes a calm moment and in his own way connects with the bond. He doesn't know it's called bond. He usually calls it talking to his friends, his little sea friends.
Yeah.
And I want to use Friends with Mermaids.
Incredible.
Hell yeah.
Incredible. All right. What's the roll here? What's the thing?
When you submerge yourself fully in water, you can unleash power to either summon servants of the sea that you've met before, or convince servants of the sea of something if they are already present. Are there any already present in these waters? Or...
Yeah, I'll definitely give you something.
Okay.
I think it'll be easier for you to reach out to things that are currently here versus something that you're familiar with that we need to get here. Mm-hmm. Is there a role associated with this?
There is no role. I just had to submerge myself fully in water.
Okay. What are you saying as you reach out to the creatures that are nearby?
Hey mates, chow time.
Incredible. You see shadows pulse like jellyfish up from the depths surrounding these shoals. 1, 2, 10, 20. And as they start to come into focus and they begin to breach the surface of the water, you see a swarm of coconut crabs. 3 foot in diameter.
Oh, gosh.
They are making such a chittering, garbled speech of appreciation that you can't understand a single fucking word of it as they make their way toward this guy and begin to just try to pick him apart. And you see that he does a pretty good job. He gets his hooked sword under the shell of one and just rips it in half right away. And it is dead and floating off into the water. He cuts the claw off of another one and it recoils back. But they have numbers. And pretty soon he is overtaken. I'm going to say he is overtaken for 1 harm, ignoring armor. Which is really good because he has a lot of armor. We are going to go ahead and jump back to deck. My understanding has been that now both Hoagie and Marv are standing basically starboard rail, right? Is that about right? You guys are both on the deck standing starboard rail. Amazing. You see that these wardens are continuing to fight, right? And I think that a couple of them kind of come around and they take swings at the two of you. You haven't really put yourself into any explicit danger yet, so I think that you are able to kind of get out of their way to bob and weave. But as you do, you see that many of them start pushing past and are making their way toward below decks. So you have a beat where you could potentially intercept some of these wardens on their way downstairs. What do you all want to do?
I don't think I have a weapon. Do I?
As you say that, Hoagie is going to reach into his cloak, and he's going to hand you a +1 poison dagger.
Oh, well, thank you. This looks like a +1 poison dagger.
You hear somebody from across the deck, yo, is that a +1 poison dagger? Damn.
I'll give you just a little nod. Marv is going to try to, like, intercept them as they make their way to below decks.
I was going to say, I think it may genuinely just be get into a scrap. If you're just trying to do it with the dagger.
Yeah, I can't think of what else it would be.
Yep, so go ahead and roll me plus blood.
That's in 11.
That's a full success!
Let's fucking go!
So you both are going to do harm to each other.
Don't touch his daughter.
That's my girl. Hit.
You take 2 harm.
Oof. Big harm.
Yeah,
all right.
That's pretty big. Because you're fighting off a couple people here, right? Like, it's not just one person. You're trying to trip a handful of these wardens. But on a 10+, you can take the ante or avoid all harm.
I will take the ante.
So you take the ante. You can only ever have the ante once. So you have it, and until you spend it, that's it.
Gotcha.
What does this look like as you see these wardens with short swords just kind of charging at you?
I think Marv is like, he was trying to form like an intercepting path with them to the hatch that leads to below decks, and is trying to like head them off at the pass. So I think what this looks like is Marv like grabbing like a crate or something and like shoving it in front of him and like using it to like trip them up as he like just pushes it in front of him, trips him up, and then I think he's gonna come in with the dagger and say, I wish you hadn't made me do this. And he's going to just like start like looking for chinks in the armor of the first warden he finds.
Amazing. That is what, 2 harm?
It's +1, right? So yes, 2 harm.
Cool. Okay.
Plus poison.
And poison.
They are also going to be embroiled in this for the moment as they tumble over these crates, and you dive in and you start trying to find a, kind of slat in the armor that you can get your dagger into. Swords coming across, winging across your face. You've got kind of a gash right across your cheek, and you are just in this fucking fray. Hoagie, you're not far away. What do you do? They've been stayed for the moment.
Hoagie's gonna smile real big, and that bit of smoke that's pluming out of his mouth is going to start to enshroud him. Let's not let Marv have all the fun, little Hoagie. And he's going to use his dark powers to shapeshift. And the way that I imagine that this shapeshift works for this is that his body kind of just gets enveloped in a physical smoke. So he's not really like anamorph changing. It's more like he's enshrouded in a new form. And it is going to be a creature that sort of has the arms and torso of a gorilla, but the head, legs, and tails of a sea iguana. Cool. So I have to roll Spitfire.
Yeah.
That is an 8.
Okay.
On an 8, the power turns on you for 1 harm. So I take, as this happens, I'm assuming it's sort of like kind of goes inward too, and part of Hoagie gets messed up. But then, as a giant iguana gorilla, I would like to enter the fray And ideally just cause as much violence as possible. If it means throwing people from ships or bashing them.
I'm going to give you an option here. This could be get into a scrap if you're trying to cause harm, or if you're genuinely just trying to like fuck up the circumstances, you're not trying to hurt anyone in particular, I will let you roll Unleash a Mysterious Power to do that.
Oh, I'm definitely trying to cause harm.
Okay, go ahead and roll get into a scrap for me then.
That's so bad. That's a 5.
Oof.
Marv could spend ante to boost it. I'm not sure by how much, though. It might
How
only
much?
one.
Could I spend a luck to boost it also?
Oh, yeah, you could spend a luck just to make it a... a luck and an ante should...
That'll get it up to a
there.
7.
That's it. There it is. You get into a scrap. You land in the middle of this deck, and you are surrounded by people fighting. You see that Sabrina throws a warden kind of toward you, and you see out of the corner of your eye that Captain Woodfoot like swings around, and his peg leg, boom, connects with him in right in the face, and he crumples to the ground. And he turns to you, and he says,
I figured you were about to show up. Fix this!
And you just start going literally apeshit on some of these on some of these wardens. So you rolled a 7 on a mixed success. Your enemy presses their advantage or reveals a complication. I'm going to talk about what that is in 1 second. So you do 1 harm, ignoring armor, and you take 2 harm as you are bashing heads together, but there are just bodies on bodies, and people are getting short swords kind of in under the smoke. And it's not ignoring armor, so if you do have armor, you can reduce it, but that's 2 harm. The complication of this is that there is thick fog that has been permeating all of this space, right? Like the fog that sort of emanates from the Admiral and the Natrum has just filled the deck of the Renegade, and it has made fighting tricky as everyone is kind of at equal disadvantage fighting through blindness. And specifically, Hoagie, you see something very disquieting out of the corner of your eye. You see a body reach for the door below decks. That body is bloated, pale, dripping seaweed. There seem to be barnacles encrusted to it. And it is making its way downstairs. Kind, you have a momentary advantage over the Admiral here, who has just taken a chunk of damage. What do you do?
Yeah, I want to try and end him so I can get back on the ship and help my friends.
Sounds like getting into a fucking scrap to me, baby.
That's a 10.
A full fucking success. You have the choice of take the ante or reduce harm. What do you do?
I'm going to take the ante.
Okay. What does this look like? How's Kind fighting?
As the crabs are distracting him and he's like in, I'm assuming, full armor.
Yeah.
Same thing that Marv was doing, looking for the openings and just these quick stabs in like his armpit, his kidneys.
Yeah, okay.
I can get to his jugular. I'm just stabbing. So it's like the blade itself is bubbling in this water, ocean water, and it's just.
Genuinely, how much? I need to know how much harm it is. Is it +2 or 2?
It's a +2. The magical dagger said +2 fire.
+2, so that's 3 harm, fire. Holy shit. Kind, as you close in, you are getting these stabs in, and even through this thick of crabs, the Admiral is not fucking around, right? Like, is slashing at wounds that he sees are barely closed and barely healed. And at one point, he takes his curved sword in both hands and just hooks it around your throat. You take 3 harm as he uses his Divine Smite. Now, I have to roll to stand your ground against being compelled to be done for. This is a +0 roll. Let's see what happens. That's a 10 on the die. So, he... Oh, I don't think I'm going to let you win over on me quite this easily. And he smacks one of the crabs away and just throws the rest of them off. He is still up. And you see him vanish. You still do have Ante, but he is gone. Marv, I think you can probably also... I mean, you see that Hoagie has just turned into this fucking monster and is freaking out. You have managed to momentarily subdue some of these wardens, keep them away from the door. You do hear, over the chaos of battle, the door slam. The door to below deck slam. So you're aware of that. What do you do?
Okay, so I think looking at Kynes off the ship, Hoagie seems to be holding his own for a moment, although badly hurt. I think I am immediately going to try to turn to go below decks and whatever stragglers might have gone down there, deal with them.
Okay. You rush down there, and you see kind of an eerie stillness. And you're looking for it, right? You're like, what? I just heard somebody come down here. Like, what am I missing? You look around, attentive. You're watching your six. Take a few tentative steps downstairs. You see water on the ground, a trail of water on the ground. You follow it. It is leading directly to where they are hiding the children.
I think my step quickens.
Trying to open the locked door, you see something that was, at one point, Aiden.
Aiden, we haven't seen you since the ship was...
Head 90 degrees, body stays focused on the door. You see an eye is missing. The hair has turned into this matted, disgusting plait of brine and moss. Barnacles stuck to his forehead.
Come away from that door. Aiden?
This feels like parlay to me.
I guess I'm trying to parlay with a Zombo.
Zombo parlay. You know how it goes.
I think like Marv is like, he's trying to be really calm. He's gotten kind of low. He's like crouching. And he's got his hands out. Knife still held in his hand, but palm out so that he's not in a ready position with it necessarily. Parlay roll.
Plus
Don't
polish.
fail me now. 8 plus 0. That's an 8.
That's a mixed success. On a 7 to 9, they want you to do something for them first. Do it or they can ignore the compel.
I think Marv is going to hold the knife out so that Aiden can see it, and then gently place it on the ground and continue to approach. Aiden, I don't know what happened to you, and I'm so sorry that this has become you. But no one in that room had anything to do with it.
Try to open the door. You hear murmurs from the inside, quiet, scared little whimpers.
I wish this could have gone differently, Aiden. And I'm going to pull out my notebook. Can I sever the bond between Aiden and this plane?
Yes, you fucking can.
Whoa.
That's not as big of an ask.
Holy
right?
crap.
You open up this book, and your obsession allows you to sort of attune to this bond. And you see something viscerally disgusting. The bond is thin, tenuous, and writhing with blood-filled pustules. Looks easy to snap.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take my hand and just like making like a karate chop thing.
Yeah.
I'll just take my hand and like focusing on the bond. Say, I hope you find peace. And snap that bond.
What do you sacrifice in combat?
Would my bond with the ship be strong enough? It's only one.
I think so. I think so, and I think the way that this works is that you are using that as a way to feel what it means to let something die, right? Like that is the experience that you're going through. It's like this ship cannot ever be what it was in my life. It is done. It is over. It deserves rest, and you carry that through as you snap the bond, and Aiden slumps to the ground.
I think I'm going to go to the door and just knock like a little shave and a haircut onto the door. And just say, we're all clear here. I'm going back above deck. And I will gather up what's left of Aiden in like a nearby cloth if I can.
Yeah. Sure.
And I will just sort of place him to rest in a storage space, wrapped up.
And we cut up to Hoagie. Hoagie, you grab a warden, yeet him overboard, taking out the legs of another one in the process. Turn to look at the door where you saw the shambling figure, see it slam, and then immediately feel a presence behind you, and you whip around and you are inches away from Typhus as he appears in front of you. What manner of sorcery are you?
We are the wind. We are the clouds. We are ash. And we are fire. And I thought I told you to go for a swim. And when he speaks, there is almost no trace of Hoagie in that voice.
I think he looks a little visibly shaken, and he starts to sort of hold his sword a little closer to his chest, and at that point you sort of notice that there's a little jewel encrusted in the pommel, a little amethyst that he's kind of got his hand over. He's sort of worrying it almost. And he takes a step back slightly, and that amethyst explodes. And he turns, and he bolts for the door.
The door, like, to go below deck?
To go below decks.
I would like to, with the tail of this strange form I have, reach into Hoagie's bag, pull out the gold scepter, and hit him with it in the back of the head as I activate it.
That's brutal. That's fucking good. That's fucking good. This is going to be Unleash a Mysterious Power to make this work. So go ahead and roll me plus Spitfire.
That's not bad. That's not bad. That's a 7 plus 2. That's an 8. Or that's a 9.
That's a 9. That's a mixed success.
Yo!
It exacts a personal cost and surges out of your control.
I love that.
What personal cost does it exact?
I ain't gonna have no friends left, y'all.
I think that you can't see it right now because he's covered in the smoke. But I think part of Hoagie's face sheens over in a slab of gold as almost like a Phantom of the Opera mask of gold now covers his face, and he's going to be completely blind out of one eye, as like this part of his face just becomes a solid piece of metal.
You slam this thing against his back, and he coughs as the wind leaves his body. His last harm gone. And he starts to fall, and then stiffens. and then freezes and totters on one outstretched golden foot, his entire body encrusted in gold. And then, the deck of the ship, as everything begins to encrust in gold. I'm going to start a timer. I'm going to say you all each have a maximum of 2 actions to get everybody the fuck out of here before this whole thing becomes gold.
How close are we to land?
You are not terribly close to land. It is kind of shallow where you are, but there is another ship.
Cool.
What are you doing?
Amazing. We commandeer another
We
ship.
have to commandeer another ship.
I think that Sabrina notices right away and is like, I fucking knew this would happen if you played with devils. Everyone off ship! And the captain raises the alarm. There's chaos because the wardens are still theoretically fighting. They still want to do.
I was gonna ask, how many wardens are still around?
This is down to a size 1 group, so we're talking a half dozen or fewer. But they're still around. A lot of them are now very concerned for their own safety. They're watching this happen.
I don't think I even made it back to above deck, so I think I'm just shepherding people up and saying, we're going to board the other ship. Everyone go. Go, 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 go.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to roll me break in or out. If you have any bonds with Saphira, you can burn that to get a +1.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That is I think that's just a flat 7 then.
Okay, on a 7 to 9, we choose 2. I choose 1, you choose 1. You suffer harm or mark trouble. You run into an obstacle you didn't expect. You lose track of something important, or you bring something nasty with you.
I think we run into an obstacle.
Okay. You start gathering everything, and the most important thing for you to get a hold of is Saphira, right? You pull her into the fjord, and you're making sure that everybody is shepherded, and you go to the stairs, and a beam of solid gold crunches through the ceiling, and bends a little bit, because gold is pretty fucking soft. And you get everybody back, you don't touch it. You spend a beat trying to get everyone around. But in that initial jostle, you drop to sever bone. And it tumbles to the foot of the stairs, and you are not aware of the fact that you've lost it.
Well, that's that. No, I think in that hustle and bustle, my main focus is just guiding people and saying, do not touch the gold. Route around it, get above.
You get everybody onto deck in a relatively safe way. Kind or Hoagie, who's got their next move?
I think I can get on their ship. I'm going to get on their ship, and then from their ship, I want to say, all right, I think the fight's over, and we have more pressing matters. What say ye, lads?
That's very fucking good. That's very fucking good. Go ahead and give me parlay, and I'm going to give you a +1 here for the severed bond of authority.
And I just want the crabs to also slowly be crawling on the ships as well.
That's terrifying.
11.
Okay. On a full success, they throw down their arms and look to one another, and realizing the peril that they are in, immediately start to take up as much of the work as they can, right? Sail is being let, the oars are coming out, right? They're trying to get off of this shoal. So they are moving, they're getting ready to move. They're not fighting you anymore on this ship. But you still need to get everyone over there now that they're all above deck. At which point we come back to Hoagie.
How many wardens are still in the way on the ship that is turning to gold?
2.
Balm is going to see that Kind is sort of scaring people to listen and wanting to help that, but also see that people are starting to pull up. And regardless of what is happening, Kind does not want other people to get this baby. so that this strange monstrous form that he's in is going to ignite. As I'm going to use another dark power, I'm going to create fireballs and infernos around me. This is a dangerous fire area, loud harm 2. So I'm imagining it's just explosions of fire.
Yeah. Molten gold raining down from the fucking sails.
So I rolled a 6.
We're going to shorthand this a little bit. I need you to roll stand your ground. You can spend a bond with anyone to add a +1. If you see them, it's a +2.
It doesn't matter. I rolled a 3. There's no amount of bond I can use to get up to a pass.
I don't know if you want me to roll for this because Kynes is a bit far away, but he would just look if he sees Hoagie light a flame. He's just gonna shout across because this is his only friend on this voyage.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hoagie, enough." In hopes that the +10 to stand your ground from Heart of Gold would be enough.
It is. And Hoagie, you feel your body ignite and begin to disintegrate away. No care being paid by balm to your mortal coil. And you hear high and clear over this fire Kynes' voice. And I think we see you blink the smoke from your eyes. And we cut. We see the 4 of you rowing in a little dinghy to the docks of Shipwrangle Cove. And I'm very curious as to how we see Hoagie specifically, because I imagine that regardless, he's probably not in the best of shape.
I think Hoagie has noticeable burn marks all over his body. And I think he probably is wrapped in a blanket, and he's probably like half asleep, leaning on Kynes' shoulder. And I imagine that probably Marv has the little incense thing with balm in it, doing something to contain it or something.
Yeah.
I think that you are keeping balm in this sensor, right? And I think that you've known this for a long time, but there was an element of Hoagie that would insist, like, no, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. I can control this, right? Now you're trying to keep this thing sort of very far away.
Yeah, just like daubing it over the edge of the thing, keeping it sealed up.
And I think you're all kind of sitting in this space of relief as we see the dinghy pull into the dock. And you all make your way pretty much directly to the captain, because you have what he asked for. And you walk in to his office, and he is laid out on his cushions, smoking a hookah. Sherwood is still there, right? He's kind of plucking away at his lute. And you see a third figure that you are not familiar with. She is she's an elderly black woman that is dressed resplendently in the most vivacious of furs and silks, covered in jewelry, big gauge earrings, and she has a paintbrush tucked up behind her ear. And the captain bolts to his feet.
It's been a very long voyage, Captain.
Yeah.
Captain says he thought you were dead. It's good to see you three. 4?
Yes. 4.
Bluebeard just like cocks an eyebrow.
We retrieved the package, Captain. And I'll just like lift the cloth that's covering the baby's face.
Instant confusion. Everybody's face.
Why is no one...
Oh no.
Bluebeard cranes her frilled head up to the captain. You want me to? Tell him. No problem. That's not the package. Y'all didn't get the package. Package is over there. We're gonna do an unveiling tonight at the bonfire. And you see the elderly woman shift in her cushion, and she says, "You all were supposed to retrieve it from me. I didn't see any three of you. Not sure what happened. Just assumed that you got caught up or was failed by the Navy."
Where
Everyone
was
stop
it?
talking. Everyone stop talking. Everyone stop talking. No. This is not... No. We went to the place we were bid to go. We retrieved the package that was there. What do you mean we didn't get the package? This is the package. It was in a crate.
Just because something's in a crate doesn't mean it's what you were supposed to get. Wait, why was the baby in a crate? That doesn't...
That's what I said.
Crates aren't that bad for children to be lying in. Anyways,
really
listen,
doesn't feel that safe.
Listen, alright, so we got the package. Everyone's safe and sound. Captain, I appreciate you bringing this new navigator with us. He did a bang-up job. We have a few hopeful new residents among us. I call this maybe a win.
And he pats you on the shoulder, and he's got a big smile on his face. And you see the elderly woman. She sort of stands up and she scratches the back of her head a little bit. She says, "I genuinely didn't see any of y'all. We must have missed each other in the window. How did you even survive? We had all accounted for your deaths."
We absconded before the Empressar's invasion was complete. Are you sure this isn't... No, of course it isn't. Of course not. Why would that sister of the Sapphire Sun just give us this child?
You know, it's really hard to find a sitter sometimes.
You see this woman with a paintbrush, kind of walk over to this brown paper wrapped parcel in the far back of this office. And she says, "I honestly think it's probably fair to show the three of you what you were supposed to pick up. This is what I've owed your captain for nigh on a dozen years. It's just, you know how it is. The artistic juices, they don't get flowing." And she pulls the paper down and reveals a full portrait of your entire crew.
You couldn't have shipped that?
In the middle of a war?
So look, we're all there, just smiling. It was it's a very nice piece of art.
We fought admirals.
You fought admirals? No, I need to hear that story. That sounds incredible. I need you to... Okay, the three of you are sitting down right now. You're going to tell me this from the beginning.
Oh, he's been sitting down this whole time. Look at him.
Look at Hoagie.
Wait
Hoagie's got a golden finger.
Yeah, and
The whole golden face.
this isn't a mask. Ding, 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 ding.
What in the hell did you three get up to?
We did a big adventure to rescue a child.
Why were they after her?
The child isn't a normal child by any means. For one thing, the child is remarkably calm. Doesn't cry, basically ever.
That's true.
It's incredible.
Also
But-
survived being in a crate, apparently.
Oh, okay. All right.
You please let the crate go. The only thing that I can determine, or what I've been able to determine so far, the Empressar might have wanted this child for its unique ability to reconnect bonds. You're all familiar with bond, right? Just looking around the room.
Deadpan silence from just about everybody.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let's start at the top here.
And I think we close on Marv giving a lecture to this group of people. I want to get each of you to describe, like a Polaroid, in your lives after this journey?
I think it starts with Kind getting to his largest and best treasure that he has in this world, which is his girls. And he comes in and he opens his bag to the zip line that he gives to Kelp. I'm sorry, no, Kelp would get the Elder God's trinket that he was able to get from them. Algae gets the zip line. And then to Coral, he hands her the corked rapier that is like ornate and gorgeous. He tells them of a new friend that he made on his voyage by the name of Marv and his daughter. But he would also eventually introduce Sabrina to them as well. And I believe all three of them look at her like, who daddy done brought home? And as he's at the grill doing the dad thing, having a barbecue, watching Hoagie and Marv and Saphira and Sabrina and this big, I assume, family, he just whispers a thank you to the gods.
I think that we see Hogarth looking much more lively, but still with burn scars and still with that half-face plate gold. And we see him at Kind's family home helping Kind's girls with like their studies. He has some like books and stuff with him that very clearly were like given to him by Marv, and the girls keep trying to draw or like put stickers and stuff on his metal faceplate and things like that. And it's just like a quiet moment.
Where does the sensor end up? Do we know?
I leave that to Marv.
Okay. Marv, I'm curious as to what yours looks like, and I also want to give you that you probably occasionally see that there is a severed bond between you and Kind.
I don't think like I forgot severing it, but it's like I don't remember the experience of it. I think Marv has sort of like taken Bomb's incense holder and turned it back into sort of like an incense holder. Like it just kind of sits above his desk, suspended with little frankincense sticks stuck in it. And I think over the passing time, Marv is working on a book about the history of Astilla and its people. And I think that he's incorporated a lot of the stories from the book from Mare Sanctorum. And his obsession with Bond, I think when he realizes the severed bond that exists between him and Kind, he sort of reconsiders his obsession with Bond. And without that book on severing Bond, he also has another chance to sort of like think about whether or not he wants to focus on severing or if his focus should be on rekindling. And I think there are many days where he considers asking Saphira to repair the bond between him and Kind, but he always shies away from that. Because in its place, over time, he starts to see a new bond form between them. The snapshot that we see of Marv is of him in his study. And I think like if we were looking at the Polaroid, it would be Marv sitting at the desk with a single like lantern above him lighting his way, and then a cracked door in the background and like Saphira, now a toddler, peeking her head in. When Marv heard the door creak, he would like check the time and then go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I've let time get away from me," and would get up and scoop her up in a big bear hug to take her over to a barbecue.
we hear a cart and a couple of bighorn sheep trundling their way through the edge of a forest. And we see an old man, as old as the grave, white mustaches down to his waist, sitting atop this cart, chewing on a blade of grass, and he says, "That's exactly how it happened. Everything 100% true. I heard it myself." And a Goliath man who has just like a huge crate of rocks on one shoulder, who's pulling his weight and then some on this caravan, is walking beside the cart, and he turns to Sherwood and he says, "I mean, I was with you for a lot of that, but what was the whole business with the hurricane being some sort of demon?" That, I feel like that's where your narrative falls down a little bit, Sherwood. I feel like that's where you need to, you need to rethink the middle bit just a bit. Sherwood throws the grass at him and says, "You can't just rewrite history, my friend. These are real events that happened." And Big Paul sort of gives him the, "All right, old-timer" look and smiles as we fade out.